Welcome to Stand with Survivors, presented by the Victims Advocacy Center, the podcast where we have an honest and supportive conversation about sexual abuse, what it is, how it impacts lives, and what options exist for those who've been harmed. Today, we're giving the mic to Robert Uttaro, who's dedicated nearly 2 decades of serving as a rape crisis counselor and community educator. What began with his undergraduate studies with criminal justice has grown into a lifelong commitment to advocacy, activism, and healing for survivors of sexual violence. In his role, Robert provides compassionate support to survivors and their loved ones, guiding them through emotional, mental, spiritual, and legal challenges. Beyond one-on-one counseling, he leads workshops that confront realities of sexual violence, share strategies for prevention, and focus on the power of healing and resilience. His work has been recognized nationally and internationally, featured in magazine publications across the country, and heard on radio broadcasts around the world. Robert is also the author of To the Survivors, a book that continues to move and inspire people across the globe. I'm Demi, and today we have a conversation that is long overdue. Hi, Robert. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Demi. Thank you for having me.
Before we dive in and get to the serious topic, is there something that brings you joy right now? Maybe a book, hobby, or little daily ritual?
Oh, yeah. Something that brings me joy is music I love listening to and just kind of zoning out with my headphones and being out in nature. Just going for a walk the other day with my students was so much fun. So it was a very peaceful time. So I love it.
That's awesome. That's really sweet. To start off, what inspired you to become a rape crisis counselor?
Yeah. I mean, before I answer, I just want to tell you and your viewers and your listeners to take care of themselves during this interview and after. It's a very heavy conversation and it can be triggering for a lot of people. So, please take care of yourself during and after. Reach out for help if you need anything. And back to your question to me, for people to do what brings you joy, do what brings you peace as we go through with this. So for me, my journey really started when I was a senior in college. I was taking a class on women in crime, and we were learning about female gang members, women in the prison system. There was a big part of the class that had to do with sexual violence and rape, and it was hitting me very deeply. And there were women that came into my class to make a speech and to give a training to us. And I knew I had to go to that class. So these women walked in, and to me, they were like angels. They were just so strong, so peaceful. And I was in awe of what they did. I was just really blown away by what these women did, that they dedicated their lives to helping survivors of sexual abuse. And they showed us a reenactment of a perpetrator and how he committed his crime. And this deep rage existed inside of me, this scary rage that came inside of me. And then that rage turned into a deep disgust where I actually thought I would throw up, in my chair. And God was speaking to me. Things were happening inside of me very deep. And everything negative came at me, but I heard the question, will you help? And I was so nervous, so scared, literally flooded with every negative thought that could come at me. And I ultimately said yes. After the class, I asked the women if they would, if I could interview with them, if I could volunteer with them, and they put me through an interview process. They selected me over a couple other people, and my life has never been the same since. I have been doing this work ever since that moment.
Wow. I took a criminal justice class in high school too, and I remember it being just very eye-opening as to what the world is about and what can happen, because I feel like in high school you're very not aware as to what the dangers are in this world. But I remember that class being very informative, and it was to you, which is amazing.
I was getting coffee the other day, and this girl mentioned a criminal justice class. I said, oh, are you in college? She's like, no, I'm in high school, but that's what I want to go for. And that's awesome. I was like, so did I. And depending on what you want to do, there's so many fields, kids can get into. So it's very important.
What does justice mean to the people you've spoken with? Does it always mean going to court, or can it look different in your perspective?
It's a philosophical question. It's a legal question. It's a spiritual question. It's such an important question. I wrote a chapter on it, and justice really is different for different people. It really does look different for people. And in my experience, the vast majority of human beings have no interest in pursuing the criminal justice system. They do not pursue criminal prosecution. They do not pursue civil litigation, in my experience. That doesn't mean people don't. It doesn't mean they can't. It doesn't mean they shouldn't. But there are also people who do get guilty verdicts against their perpetrator, but they still struggle. They still can suffer. They can still have nightmares and have flashbacks, and they still might not feel like they got justice, even though they did get justice in some ways. They might not feel or experience that healing. Others do, of course. So there are people who do find justice within the criminal justice system. There are people that do find justice in civil litigation. And for some, justice is just being able to sleep at night. For some, justice is being able to go on a date and to be able to have a healthy sexual relationship and to maybe to pursue school. So it really varies for different people.
Absolutely. In your work, what kind of myths and misunderstandings about sexual assault do you encounter most? Is it that justice brings you peace and then that's it? Or is there other misunderstandings that people automatically assume with the people you've spoken to?
Some people really are shocked to hear this happens to men or boys. And it happens to women and girls, overwhelmingly so. It's not even debatable. But there are men and little boys who are being sexually abused. And there are female perpetrators as well. There are male perpetrators and there are female perpetrators. There are attorneys, there are advocates, there are cops, there are nurses that do want to help you. So I think for some people, it is a scary thing. It's a terrifying thing to go through the criminal justice system. But to those who think that it's only bad and it's only going to hurt you, I don't believe that's true. And there are people that choose that, and there are people that want to go through that process and ultimately go away from it. They start the process and they say, I can't do this, I can't handle it, and that's totally okay. You know, part of my job and part of other counselors and advocates is we try to support people in what they choose and what they need. When people are abused, when people are raped and sexually assaulted, they have their power and control taken from them. And so one of the ways we try and help is to help them gain their power and control back. And back to justice, that can look differently for different people.
You speak so passionately and directly to what you've seen and what you've experienced that it's very heartwarming to hear that people experience these things in different ways and have different impacts from them and have different stories because every story is unique. So it's nice to, I'm sure you've seen so much, and nice to know that everyone has their own kind of definition of what justice looks like, but also what definition of what they went through. They can lead a healthy life afterwards, especially with your help.
You should make your point. You should share your points in this conversation. And what you just said actually made me think of maybe another myth, the idea that if this really happened to you, you have to go to the police, you have to go to court. What are you doing? Why would you not do this? And that's not real, because so often there's actually no evidence. This is a crime hidden in secrecy and hidden in shame. And often there's absolutely no evidence that will get a conviction in a court. Of course there are crimes where there's evidence, but there's many that are not. So why would you tell a person, let alone a kid, to go through go through a trial when, one, they just can't do it themselves, and two, there's no evidence. And if there's no evidence, a district attorney is not going to pursue this to a trial, even if they want to. Even if the DA would love to do anything for this person, they can't. If they can't actually attempt to win, to prove it, to show that this happened. But just because there's no evidence doesn't mean a crime wasn't committed, and it doesn't mean that people don't have real intense struggles and pain and suffering for long periods of time. That's one of the things with these crimes, is that this really affects people in so many different ways for so long. And part of the work we do is trying to help with that and helping people to understand and really experience, to really feel that it doesn't have to cripple and control them, that they can heal and they can live really healthy, beautiful lives.
I think something that I have learned, especially working with the Victims Advocacy Center, is that people don't know that people can take a long time to understand what they went through in the past, and it can kind of hinder them to pursue anything afterwards because they're like, oh, that happened 15, 20 years ago. What evidence would I have, or what does that even apply here? But learning through this center, I've understood that there are look back laws and there are opportunities that lawmakers are changing the laws right now where I think in New York, like you can pursue a civil litigation even if it happened so long ago. But the nature of these crimes is that these people don't understand what happened to them until later, until much later, which speaks to the volume of how, destructive that these instances can make people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What are some of the systemic barriers that people frequently face, like that you've seen? Is it that the legal justice system is so hard to navigate that people are afraid to pursue a civil litigation, or is it the emotional toll that might take on them? But how have you helped someone in the past navigate those barriers?
So it's very difficult to speak about it. It's very difficult to then speak about it to people you don't know, and it's really difficult to speak about it in front of your actual perpetrator. Depending on people's situations, you're trying to simply get them to safety. You're trying to get them away from a person, depending on, the dynamics. And the systemic question is, it's like, what is society? Like, what aspect of society are we talking about? In some parts of the world, there are incredible attorneys and legal advocates and hotlines and people that will be with them every step of the way and really support them. And there's other parts of the world that, where can they go for help? Where can they go? What are the laws in that state or that country? What does justice look like for other people throughout the world? So I think one of the challenges is getting over, well, again, a lot of people don't even necessarily want to, or if they do, they're terrified, they're scared, and they don't really know where to go. But there are people that will help them. There are people that will explain the process to them, the system to them, and help them kind of navigate that. But it's incredibly challenging. I mean, I've never met anyone that's disclosed to me they've been sexually abused that didn't feel shame. There are barriers, of course, and one of them is lack of belief of people. If someone really does want to pursue something and the first person they tell doesn't believe them, think about what that does to them. I mean, think about the pain that causes on top of the pain they're already experiencing. And I know a woman who is so hard on herself. I mean, it's so sad. I mean, she's so hard on herself. She blames herself all the time of how she never reported to the police. And she did report to a security guard. The security guard didn't do anything for her. But she doesn't actually understand that she technically did make a report. You told someone and they did nothing for you. And so she is still hard on herself for that. So one of the societal things we can do just as people, I've never asked people, you don't have to become a lawyer, you don't have to become a police officer, you don't have to become a judge to make a difference. Listen to people, believe people, and if someone comes to you, attempt to be a bridge of where they need to go. And where they need to go is different for some people. Some people, that's just going to perform yoga. For someone that's just trying to get a massage. For someone that's just trying to pick up a pen and write. And for someone that's pursuing criminal and civil litigation.
For those people that have gone to family and friends about what they've experienced, what would you say is the most important thing someone can do to support that person?
Believe them, listen to them, and be with them. Spend time with them. Attempt to meet them where they're at. Don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them what to do. And support them. Try to be as empathetic as you can. Try to be as compassionate as you can. And let them express what they need to express and be with them. And then depending on what comes out and depending on what's going on, then there might be other services that they need. But it's actually not as complicated as we kind of make it out to be. We can really change lives and we can save lives by very simple means of love, compassion, empathy, and listening and believing.
Right. Me too. When you write and speak to survivors directly, what things do they say, maybe in reflection, that they wish they knew earlier, that conversations they wanted to have earlier, or just what went over their head, but maybe because of the stressful environment that they were in because of this incident?
I mean, in my experience, I've seen a lot of people, not so much talking about maybe the information they wish they had, but the choices they made. There's so much self-blame and there's too much victim blaming. There's so many people that are blaming people for being sexually abused. And that's one of the things when I got involved in this work, I was like, that's crazy, man. That's insane. Why would you do that? And I was like, I knew I just would never do it. Like, who cares? Who cares what someone's wearing, or who cares if they're drunk, if they're passed out on the street? Why does that mean you get to sexually violate them? I'm not making the connection. Okay. I'm not saying it's great that they're passed out drunk or they're just hammered, but like, that doesn't mean you get to rape them. It's like, what are we talking about? This is crazy. So that I find people really struggle with the choice they make, and they'll say things like, I shouldn't have been there if I didn't go out that night, or if I wasn't with this person. And the majority of perpetrators are committing crimes against people they know. So what are we really saying? Are you saying you're not supposed to be with a teacher? Are you not supposed to be with a priest? Are you not supposed to be with a family member? You're not supposed to go to work? You're not supposed to go hang out with your friends? You can't go to a club? This is not how we should be thinking, in my opinion. And it's doing a lot of damage. And so part of healing is helping people to break that down and to not blame themselves for what they did, because it's not anything they did. It's what someone else chose to do to them. And that's really hard to break through to people, but it's possible.
Right. And I'm sure over time and understanding and having these conversations, people can kind of unwind and make those realizations that, it was your teacher or it was your priest. Like those are mutual levels of, we're supposed to have respect amongst all of those kinds of people, and that person did not respect you or crossed a boundary or everything like that.
Well, for some it can get worse. And it's not just sexual abuse. Whatever is afflicting us, whatever we're suffering with or struggling with, the more we don't deal with it, the worse it can become. And so this can and does develop into really intense mental illness, eating disorders, self-harm, addiction, crime. This when it's not treated, and treated might not even be the word, but if it's not dealt with to some extent, it for some people it can get worse over time.
What experiences have you seen in the past firsthand that someone has pursued civil litigation and felt that they've got justice afterwards?
Not a ton for myself personally, but that doesn't mean that that's not out there. I mean, when I was volunteering in the organization, I was working with the lawyers and legal advocates. And so sometimes there are times where people want to go through it, and they go through it and they go all the way through. That's amazing. And there's other times there's people that start to go through it and they actually just walk away from it. And they just say, like, we can't do this. And that's their choice. And that's part of giving them power and control back. So we allow that. There are people, it's a lot of times even calls come in from significant others. There are people like, parents or spouses or siblings that want to know more information about their options. So I think one important thing is just simply educating people on what's out there. What realistically, what do you want to pursue? What's realistically out there, and how can you achieve it? And I think those are huge. I think it's important for people to have like a team, right? Like, it's really important for people to have a team around them, people that love them and support them, and they will be okay. They will be fine. But the team has to really love them. and the team has to really do what's in their best interests. And for some, it is pursuing civil and criminal litigation. And I think that's really special. One challenge is that some people feel bad that they didn't pursue. Some people really are blamed. They blame themselves, and some people can blame them. And it's like, you didn't pursue this. You didn't go to the cops. And now you allowed this person to do that other times. And that is ultimately not true, because it's not their responsibility to prevent crimes, let alone like incredibly violent, disturbing, evil, and I would call demonic crimes. It's not anyone's responsibility except for the person who's doing it.
So let's talk about your book then, To the Survivors. What role does storytelling, whether through your book or conversations like this, play in healing and advocacy?
You asked me why I got into this in the first place. Some of the things I learned is how valuable and how powerful survivor speakers are. And so when people share their stories, it's really special to witness. And my role was to simply support them and also support the crowd. So to be out there, if people are triggered, if people, might freak out actually, and help the survivor speaker and before and after, and depending with questions. So it's these stories are very powerful. And so when I wrote my book, I knew it had to be raw, it had to be real, and I knew there had to be just stories of real people, unedited. Like, this is what they say. This, agree or disagree, you love it or hate it, this is the truth. This is what they say for these people. So it's incredibly powerful, and people can connect to it. I don't ask people to read my book, and I don't care if you read anything that I write. It's not about me. I'm saying there's something in there that might connect with you. It's just one little connection. And if you can connect with one little thing, that one little thing can grow. And that one little thing means you're still connected. And that one little thing might potentially prevent suicide. So I find that deeply important. And so, yeah, the stories connect. It's almost like, who better to connect with someone that experienced a similar thing?
Absolutely. And that's why group therapy is always so helpful, because people realize that they're not alone in their situation. Might be unique, but the feelings and the support that is out there you're not alone in those feelings. And I really appreciated the way that you constructed the book with being about stories about people's experiences, and not so much saying that this is all true, these are what can happen, but instead saying this has happened to these people, and this is how they feel afterwards. It's a really powerful way to approach it, because I feel like a lot of other ways of sharing these stories can be very textbook, but to, I don't know, have the personal connection or the personal story of what someone went through is very powerful.
These are people who chose to do this, and they were through the process the whole time. And there are other people that said no, and there are other people that started the process and didn't finish it. They didn't want to pursue it, and it didn't. And so the people who ultimately are in the book are those that they want to do this, and it's all in their words. And for some, it's incredibly heavy, and really, it's terrifying to even open the book for a lot of people, and that's totally okay. For other people, they might say, "Oh, it's not super graphic." Some think it is, but it shows how it affected them, and all of them are honest. I mean, they're going through pain for years, but every story in that book comes out on the other end. And it's not this perfect picture. That's not true. But it's not like they don't still have pain or problems. But to show where they've come, and some of them become survivor speakers themselves, talking to other people, educating other people, healing other people, it's special. And if it wasn't effective, I wouldn't keep doing this. Why would we even be having this conversation if this wasn't necessary and actually impactful? We wouldn't.
Right.
We'd be doing something else.
I guess with that, then, what message do you hope survivors listening to this or reading your book will take away from hearing your story through talking with these people, and your perspective on what it takes to, I guess it takes a village, but what it takes to heal and move on from something like this?
You are not alone, and you never will be. And some people get mad when I say that, but you truly are not. And even if you feel that way, there are people out there that will be with you, that will sit with you, that there's nothing you've experienced that's unspeakable. Nothing. And it's terrifying as it is so scary to even attempt to release some of this. But it's possible. And it's important to do it to someone that you love and trust that will treat you well. And if you do it to someone and they don't treat you well, don't let that shut you down for 10 more years. To find someone else. If you need help, whatever that help is, seek it. There's a powerful quote, seek and you will find. And I found that to be true. So, you are loved more than you even know. And this does not speak to who you are. It's not who you are. It's a lot of pain and a lot of effects a lot of trauma from what someone else did, but it's not who you are. And people will help you to continue to figure out who you truly are and where you and who you will become.
I guess looking ahead, what innovations or shifts in the sexual health education or societal shifts do you think could make the biggest impact in preventing these abuse, or how we can best support survivors in the future?
The prevention question is a fascinating one. How do you prevent it? Stop doing it.
Right. Yes.
I don't believe we need to spend money and all these resources to... I'm not saying prevention measures aren't helpful. That's not my point. Stop doing it. Don't commit crimes. Don't rape someone. There's nothing wrong with having sexual urges, and there's nothing wrong with when people have their own trauma and they don't know how to deal with it. There are just ways to get out your pain and your desires and your sickness than to hurt another. And when you do that, you're causing serious harm. So to me, the number one way to prevent it is for human beings to stop doing it. I think I do believe it's important to educate people on the realities of it. Like when I work with kids, they'll say things. They'll say it in a joking way. They'll talk about consent. They'll even mention rape. Like, oh, you just raped me. And I don't even think they have a clue really as to what it even is, let alone the pain of it. So part, I think, of prevention is really educating people on what these words really mean, and to teach them the impact of what these things actually do to real people. And think of people you love. Think of your mother. Think of your sister, your brother, whoever you love in life, and then think of them being sexually abused. You'd be mortified. If you think like that, and then ideally that would help you to not do that.
Yeah, I think you have a very unique perspective of talking with all these survivors, but then also having the chance to work with kids at a younger age and seeing what that those are two different worlds, and we can get into that a little later, but yeah, that's a very interesting perspective that you have. I guess to wrap up, for people who want to read more about your work and your book, To the Survivors, where can they find more?
It's on Amazon.com. It's on probably any online retailer. It's on my website, robertuttaro.com. It's actually free on my website. So if I wanted it available to anyone, if they wanted it. And if you're interested, please check it out. If you're not, that's okay. And don't pick it up. But just know it exists. And if it's helpful for you, use it. And if it's not, throw it away and never look at it again. But whether it's this book or another book or other resources, just know that there are just tons of resources out there for you. They're for you, and you can utilize them. And they're tools to help you through the pains of this world.
Right. It's developed by people that love other people, but also that want to support at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. It's for you at the end of the day.
It is.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Robert. If you or someone you know has experienced abuse, just know this, like Robert mentioned, you are not alone. There are real steps you can take, and support is out there. We'll drop our helpful links, including resources from the Victims Advocacy Center, in the show notes, and we'll catch you next time.